Hi, I'm Murdoch. In this video I'm going to disassemble this 2012 HP laptop. So we've had this computer for about 12 years. It was mostly used by my mom and by me and my brothers who played school zone games and Minecraft on it. So at some point when I was little, I was carrying this computer around and I dropped it. So then it stopped working and we started to use this computer. And I also do a video on this computer, so remember to subscribe and like so that you see that. And even while this computer wasn't working, we had another computer that couldn't charge its battery. So we would put the batteries into this computer to charge it and switch to the other computer because all of our computers use the same type of battery. And then later we plugged it in and it started working again. So then we had two computers. But then as we were using it, this corner slowly got damaged. First with the vents, then it cracked more until the entire left hinge came off. And then after a little bit longer, a wire came out and then the screen stopped working. So it stopped being used for a while, but then eventually we figured out that it still worked if we just plugged it in to a monitor. And the screen, this hinge was still good, and it was always tucked behind it like this, so then you had to look to the side to see the screen. And at some point I wanted to take off the screen so the monitor could be directly in front of it. So I pried out off the front part and I unscrewed something that was going all the way down the screen. It's this gray metal thing right here, and then I twisted it and all these cables onto it so they wouldn't be in the way. And then we just started having the monitor directly in front of it, and it worked a lot better. But then eventually, after using it for a while, it stopped working completely, and we haven't done anything with it since then until now. So before I take this apart, let's look at the screen. So there's this front piece, and right there, that's where the camera goes. This is the camera right here. And then behind it, there is the main screen. It's white on the back. And this is the hinge that was broken for a while. And there's I think it's the reflective back part. I guess that's transparent in some way. And then just the back of it. So now on to disassembling it. So first you want to take out the battery. I don't know if you really have to, but you should at least to make it lighter. So normally you can just push it with your finger, but I used a screwdriver because it's kind of stuck. See, it actually fell back in. If you push it, it's kind of hard to get out, so I'm using a screwdriver. And you pull it out. Next, you have to remove this rear panel. Newer computers don't usually have these, but old ones do. So I have to take out any screws. There's only one on this one, and it's already unscrewed because I opened it up a little bit before filming. And then you have to slide it backwards. You can't just pry it open, it has to go backwards. That once you got it backwards, you can just take it off. So to open it up the rest of the way, you're going to have to remove all the screws. There's usually some all around the edges. Sometimes there are screws under the rubber feet and behind the battery. And there's also screws behind this back panel they gotta take out. I've been storing my screws in this bag so that I don't lose them as I take them out. And after I go over everything back here, I'm going to open it up the rest of the way. So the way that I found it the first time I took it apart was this part of the memory wasn't actually plugged in, and it was just sitting there, which might have been why the computer stopped working. So this one has 8 of these black things on one side, so it probably has 8 on the other side. Just like this one, it has 4 on this side and 4 on this side. You can see that 250E slightly right there. So I think that the 250E means 250 megabytes, and there's 8 of them, so that makes 2 gigabytes, since there's 1,000 megabytes in a gigabyte. So I think it was able to run without the other one, since this one, it has 8 on each side. And each one, instead of saying 250E, they instead say 302A. And most computers have around 8 gigabytes of memory and 16 of 300 megabytes. That would equal around that with this combined. So I think that this is just the main one, and that's kind of an extra one. I don't know what this is. I think it might be a speaker, except I think computers might have a speaker on each side. I don't know about this computer. But if that's not a speaker, I don't know what this is. And this right here, this is the storage, and it's plugged in right here, and you can just pull it out. You have to pull kind of hard. You feel like you're going to break it, but it's fine. It's got this little tab to remove the hard drive. You can just pull it up on this side. The wire's pretty strong, so you can pull it by that. And then you just pull it up, pull it out past this. And on the other side, there's all the information, except I actually couldn't find where it says how many gigabytes it holds on, even by pulling up these rubber parts. Couldn't find anything about how much data it holds. Okay, so once you got all the screws out from the bottom, you can take this apart. So you just pull it open like this. I don't think that you have to slide it like you do for this one. I think you just pull it off because it's a different kind of tab. But you actually can't take it all the way off just from what's on the bottom. You also have to take off the keyboard. And you gotta get under there, but mine's already taken off. And it has this tape underneath, and that goes into here. You can put it back in just by putting this up, and then just sliding the tape under it, and then clamping it back down. But yeah, there's a couple of screws right there, under the keyboard, and you have to take those off in order to get the top off all the way. And then there's, right here is the cable that plugs in the mouse. You can just pull this out. You want to pull open this black part, and then you can slide it out. There was also another one right here. It goes onto this, exactly the same as this one. And that one is right here. That's for the power button. Okay, and I haven't gone much further than this. So right here, these are the broken hinge cases. They were here and here. This plugs in to that. So I unplugged it because the screen is gone. Now I can actually take this part off because it's open. So I can take these screws out and remove this junky hinge part. Okay, so I got both screws, so I'll put them in the bag with the rest of them. I'm not going to put this part back on. Oh, there's still the wire. Okay. I'm going to keep the screws anyways in case I lose others. And when I took it apart, I think there actually was one screw missing already under the battery. So let's see. It goes under here. There's these two clamp things. There's this right here. So I'll take this off. So this is for a USB port. So I'm going to pull this out temporarily so that I can... Oh, you know, I'm not going to slide that hunk of wires under this little wire, so I'll put this back on. Okay, don't know what that plugs into. Okay, so I'll be able to get this out if I take off the motherboard. The CPU is probably under it, like somewhere around here, because there was nothing there on the bottom. Oh wait, no, I think that's the CPU, right? Right there. So yeah, if you look at this, like, there's a lot of dirty stuff on and it's rusty right there. And if you look down here, there's also tons of dirt all over the place. I've actually got dirt all over the whole computer. There's dust right here, and under where the keyboard was, it's very dirty underneath, especially right here, which is actually where the arrow keys are. So you can see how there's all that's the SD card slot, there's the headphone jacks, there's two USB ports, the HDMI, and the 15-pin connector, and that's what I use to connect it to that monitor. Also, this right here is obviously the fan. I don't really know what this metal part is for. Maybe the numbers on it would explain. But I think it might be just to help hold up the keyboard. So I'm going to take out all of these screws, and then I can get the circuit board off. This right here is the disk drive. And if you follow the cable, it actually leads right here. And if you compare it to the cord on the hard drive, see, they're the same. So you could actually plug one in to the other spot if you needed to. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take out all the screws on the motherboard and see what's underneath. Also, I realized there's nothing over here that could be a speaker. So since there wouldn't be a right side speaker, then I guess what we saw on the other side was just the main speaker. Okay, that looks like all the screws. So I guess I can take out the motherboard now. I better unplug this first. I think that these plastic parts are just for pulling on. It looks like they aren't any kind of... Oh, I might not be able to pull this out because of all these connectors on the side. Unless maybe I have to pull that way. Those are all these little X things that are like screws that just help to hold it in. Okay, let's see if I can pull this out. Feels pretty secure on this spot. And there were some screws on the bottom of what I think was the speaker, so those might be what's holding it in. The rest of it's kind of free. And I think I can remove this USB port too. Yeah, there we go. So now I've got a USB port. I guess I'll try to take out the disk drive. Also, when I was trying to get this to run earlier, I tried to get the computer to project it to a monitor. So I tried to type in the password or log on. I couldn't actually remember if I had a password or exactly what the password was, so I just tried a bunch of passwords that it might be. I never displayed to the monitor, so now I'm taking it apart. I think that this part might not let me get it out. Okay, going back to the bottom, it feels like actually this is exactly the screw that isn't letting the motherboard come out. So I'm gonna remove this probably speaker, and that might get it out. Okay, can I take this out? Oh, I just found why the speaker wasn't working. It was unplugged on one of the sides. I might actually try putting this back together with the speaker plugged back in, because that might actually tell me if it were working at all. Because I couldn't tell whether it was really working, because if the monitor wasn't working and the speakers weren't working, I wouldn't really be able to tell anything other than the fan was running, and some of the lights on the sides could turn on, and the USB ports would power things that I plug into it. Because the speaker hasn't been working for a long time because of being unplugged. So we've always had to use headphones with this for a while. And just as I flipped it over, the motherboard came out right away. So then, nothing left underneath. All we've got is the disk drive and these wires. Oh, there's the speaker right there. I'll flip it over and unplug the other wire. Glad you just flip it over without the weight of the motherboard. There we go. There's the speaker. This right here is where the battery plugs into. So I'm going to remove the other memory. Let's see. I don't know how these side tabs work. I was thinking maybe you could make it. Oh, look, they bend outwards. So just pull these out. Ah, and it springs up. Perfect. Can I do it with this one also? Probably not because it's not plugged in. Yeah, just like I thought, there are also 8 on the other side. They also say 302A on the back. And then this right here, this is where the memory plugged into. So let me test it with plugging in the one from the disk drive and see if that also plugs in. So I bet you could swap these and it would still work, but it might not work quite the same because of the way the motherboard works. It might recognize this is the storage, and then maybe if you have a DVD inside of it that has the operating system, then it might work, or it might just recognize the hard drive that you would plug into. Let's see, plugs on the other side, right there. Maybe if you plug the hard drive into the other side, it would still work. I don't know. Also, if I plug the keyboard back in right here, I might get that working. So yeah, I'm actually fixing this thing. But again, the motherboard is very dirty and corroded, so if it doesn't work, then I can always, I have a plan to plug this hard drive into, there's things that they sell, hard drive cases that you can put them in, and they have a USB port that you can plug into another computer, and then you can just use them for storing stuff, and also be able to get whatever's on this hard drive off. I have a couple of Minecraft worlds, some pictures, and some 3D models that I just made for fun. I kind of scratched this up a little bit trying to break this piece of plastic. And I also broke a bunch of pieces of plastic. Also, right here, this is the spring that makes the battery thing go. And if I try to do it by my hand, yeah, now it's working better. Oh, it must have been one of these cables where it was jammed in there. That might have been what stopped it from coming. This is the CMOS battery. What it does is, whenever your computer's off, it gives it a little bit of power to keep the clock going, keep sync with the time. And it's usually the thing that you're told to look for whenever your computer isn't working. On some computers, it's just a regular button battery in a little holder, but on this one, it's in a rubber wrap with a wire. So I can just pull that out. There. You're usually told to unplug it for 5 to 30 minutes to let everything depower before you plug it back in and put the computer back together. Earlier I said it looked like this is the processor, but it is just directly connected to the motherboard. It doesn't seem like there's any way to detach it. And it's also, like, it's smaller than an inch. And that's really small to be a processor. And I found this on the other side, and it's quite a lot bigger than the other one. So maybe this is the processor, and also has some screws, so I can try and remove this. Okay, so this is just a metal covering, and I'm pretty sure that this is called a chipset. So this thing that I didn't know what it did before, it does have these springs right here and this foam pad, so maybe it is just for support, but it also has this copper thing leading to the radiator and fan, so maybe this is something for capturing heat and conducting it to the cooling. But maybe if I take this off, I will find the motherboard underneath. Let's see. Actually, that also looks like a chipset. I don't know. Can't get it off completely without taking off the fan, so I'll see if I can get that off. Looks like you just have to unplug this wire. There we go. So I've heard about there being thermal paste on the chipsets, and this looks like some dry thermal paste right here, as well as on top of that. But then also this right here, like if you touch it like that, it feels really cold, but then the other one, not so much. So this thing that I thought was the speaker, I looked up the numbers on it, and it turns out that it's actually an internet chip, and these two wires that were going to it, those are the wires that were coming out the back of the computer and leading up to the monitor. So I think that the antenna is up in the monitor, but the internet was still working otherwise, so it might just be that the antenna increases its range, and as long as the hotspot is close by, it doesn't need the antenna for the internet to work. I'm going to go ahead and give removing the disk drive another try, and this time I'll actually take out the screws, which I probably should have done in the first place. Okay, it looks like the top panel got a little loose when I removed the screws, so let me see if I can remove just the top of this. Oh, it's coming off a little. Right here, it's kind of clippy. Okay, it doesn't really want to go, so I'll try getting these two screws as well. Okay, what about now? Oh, I didn't think to slide it out where it goes in. There we go. It's out. And this part right here, separate. Okay, there, I've got this out too. So yeah, now I've got nothing but the shell, and once I get this USB port out also. Yep, finally got it out. Put a little harder from this plug on the hard drive. It's very similar to the one from the disk drive. It's a little bit different, but I think one of these is a PATA connection. The other might be a SATA connection, or maybe that's the name of the one on the other side. On the drives themselves, you can also see that they're very similar on this side too. So now I have every single part from out of the computer. So my plan is to clean all of the parts of the computer, and then I'm going to reassemble them. So I'm also going to take apart the fan as much as I can so that I can clean that, because the blades are extremely dirty. It's the dirtiest part of the entire computer. Okay, now there's these little clips, and once I pull those open, I should be able to take the top part of the fan off. If I can't, then I'll just have to clean the inside of the blades with a Q-tip. Let's see. Oh. Okay, there we go. Sorry, on this side I have the radiator. Some very dusty foam, unless it's just lint. It's just lint. That is disgusting. Okay. And on this side there's the motor in the middle. That's what the wire's going to through this bridge. There's no other screws or clips that I can see. I might be able to just pull this a little. Okay, I can't get this off, so I am still going to have to be careful while cleaning it. Okay, and while I clean the motherboard, I would really rather not the battery get wet. So I looked underneath, and it looks like it's just held by foam or glue, so I can just pull this off, I think. Assuming it doesn't take too much effort. Yeah, it's just foam or glue. And I'm also going to need to get thermal paste to replace this really dry, flaky thermal paste, or maybe this is the thermal paste, I can't tell. Also, I'll be able to unplug this cable, So that's good that I don't have to get that wet while I wash it. So in the next video, I'm going to wash all the parts, and then in the video after that, I'm going to reassemble everything and see if it works. So like and subscribe to make sure you see that, and see you next time.